Can you do me a favor and stop breaking everything with my face? Thank you!
Sometimes a game comes into your life and you have no idea why. They just sort of appear in your consciousness one day from some unknown source. Before you even realise it, they're just a part of you. That's the case with Whiplash. Every time I bring the game up, no one has any idea what I'm talking about. Then I try to explain the premise and I get one of two reactions. Either people are like, what the fuck? Or people are like, that sounds awful. As far as I know, this game may as well have just been developed exclusively for me. If you don't know, Whiplash is a 3D platformer game created by Crystal Dynamics, a company famous for creations such as the Gex series, Pandemonium on the PS1, as well as... well, okay, I'm not going to lie, they also made Soul Reaver, which is another game I've already done a why it's great video about. But this is not favoritism, they just happen to make two games I want to talk about. Seriously, leave me alone. Whiplash is a game about animal testing. You control Spanx, a weasel who's been put through some terrible shock therapy experiments. One day, you find yourself changed to a rabbit called Redmond, and about to be put through a combiner, or combinator. Recombinator? I don't know, some stupid device name thing. In order to your captors, you bust out and must escape, doing as much damage as possible to the animal testing facility on your way out. I bet you're wondering, but Will, how can a weasel and a rabbit survive against an entire testing facility of fully grown humans? Well, this is the part that really puts people off. You remember that I mentioned that Redmond and Spanx were chained together? Well, it turns out that Redmond was undergoing cosmetic testing, which happens to have turned his fur into a sort of super tough suit of armour. Since he's so hard to damage, Spanx kind of uses him like a flail, smashing him into people and objects and stuff. Obviously, people are not always receptive to the idea of using a small bunny as a weapon, but personally, I was never bothered by it. The entire game is presented in a very cartoonish way. Just listen to some of Redmond's dialogue. He's a sarcastic little fuckhead.
Oh my god! It's the voice from all the movie trailers! She's talking about, like, hash browns, right? Press a button, get a cookie. Press a button, get a cookie. Press a button, get a cookie.
Besides, you're playing as animals escaping a testing facility, so it's pretty cathartic, really. Well, except for maybe the time when you inflate the rabbit with air, or set him on fire. Seriously, it's less psychotic than it sounds. I promise. Either way, the gameplay mainly consists of platforming around different areas of the testing facility, defeating human enemies and freeing captured animals. You often have to try and smash things up or solve different puzzles to move forward, and as you do so, you have a number of special moves at your disposal. You can glide by spinning Redmond above your head, you can inflate him with helium to float upwards, use him to grind across cables, and connect him to electric spheres to swing across gaps. Spanx also has some of his own moves, such as the scurry ability, which makes it possible to climb up pipes and move quite quickly. There's also a decent amount of variety to the combat too. You can chain together light and heavy attacks, pun intended, use robo-mice to do your evil bidding, or even access this weird spinning attack, which is super useful against enemies who like to chain guard against your regular hits. If you get enough hits with Redmond, he kind of spazzes out and hits everything that's even kind of near you. Oddly, for a 3D platformer, you actually have an experience point system, and it's kind of an odd one. You gain experience points by eating hyper snacks, and you get to choose how they're split up. If Spanx levels up, your health goes up. If Redmond levels up, your damage output goes up. So, you get to select which stat you want to level up. You can even turn it off of automatic and level up manually so that you can decide more on the fly. It's sort of random, but kind of cool for a platformer. You also unlock completely new abilities as you go along. Every few stages or so you get an email from this cybernetic owl, who will let you download a new update. Either that gives you more experience from hyper snacks, a new move, or some other new feature which makes the game a lot easier. You're pretty much constantly destroying things as you go through the game. The company who is experimenting on you, Genron, started out as being worth $6 million. As you destroy stuff, the total worth slowly goes down, with your final goal being to completely bankrupt them before you escape. The gameplay is honestly pretty standard. There are a few nice elements mixed in, but for the most part it's your standard 3D platformer. What really makes it stand out, to me at least, are the characters and jokes. Spanx is basically a tweaker after his therapy, so he's always acting insane. Not like real life insane, more like Ripper Roo from Crash Bandicoot insane. There's a voice that talks to you as you make your way through the game, which sounds like the movie trailer guy.
Excellent! You have left your calling card.
And there's some slapstick, like what happens with this gerbil, that really makes me laugh. The real standout character though is Redmond. He's basically the only speaking protagonist, and he is sarcastic, cynical, and in general does not have a good time. But then again, he's being used as the weapon, so what do you expect? He's also the source for most of the actual jokes. Plus, he has a bunch of one-liners as you bash him around the levels and generally treat him like crap. I even ripped some of the sound files from my disc of the game so that I could basically just have all of Redmond's lines as sound bites. The game is filled with perfect meme material too. Like, I sometimes just marvel at the fact that no one has taken some of these moments and turned them into memes yet. I won't spoil the later storyline for anyone, as it stays just about as wacky as you might expect from the opening, but there are a few other interesting tidbits that go along with this game. Firstly, Spanx the Weasel, get it, was already a playable character in another game, Mad Dash Racing. No one remembers that game anymore because it was for the original Xbox exclusively, so you can't play it without owning the original console. It basically seems like Running Wild on the PS1, another game that no one ever talks about. The other interesting tidbit is actually kind of to do with the music. Firstly, it was composed by Kurt Harland, a member of the synthwave band Information Society. But the way the music plays is also a bit unique. You see, it kind of matches your inputs. The more times that you press buttons, the more intense the music gets. Which is why during certain cutscenes that lead into gameplay directly, there's a kind of ghostly silence as you start out. It also changes based on how many objects you break or enemies you hit, so it's effectively a responsive music score. Pretty cool for 2003. Apparently back when Whiplash came out, there was some controversy surrounding its anti-animal testing message. Not because of the message itself, but because of the content of the game. Dr. Ian Gibson, a doctor and Labour MP at the time, said that the game was unhelpful to the whole debate. It is a nasty and vicious way of prejudicing young minds for the rest of their lives. Personally, I feel like he was probably blowing smoke out of his arse. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a perfect game to teach kids about animal testing, but I don't think it does any harm. It probably made at least one kid ask questions about what product testing on animals is all about. Having said that, not sure if 7+ is the right age for this one or not. I certainly don't think that the game was making light of animal testing, which is what Penny Hawkins, deputy head of the RSPCA, said about the game when it came out. I just think that some people have got a real big stick up their butt. There were even comments about beating up police officers, which is complete bullshit. You have to fight security staff at Genron, which are dressed vaguely like police officers, I guess. But in this Telegraph article, you've legit got a policeman talking about how this game is dangerous and alarming. What? It's weird to think about it, but nowhere near enough people talk about this game. In fact, there are so few people who give a shit that I even had to edit the Wikipedia entry myself to make sure that the quote-unquote controversy was actually properly cited. The only modern references to the game that I've been able to actually find are from anti-animal testing websites, which were talking about the game's 10th anniversary for some reason. I guess some people clearly do remember this game exists, even if it's only one or two nutters running animal testing blogs back in 2013. I feel like Whiplash could have been made so much better by being aimed at an older crowd, and having the humour aged up appropriately too. Then again, that would probably completely defeat the purpose of trying to teach kids that animal testing is bad. There's a reason that this game got aggressively average scores. The gameplay has some nice nuances, but it's overall about as standard as it gets. The score is great, and for the age the graphics are solid, but the real kill factor is the level design. It starts out alright with your standard linear levels, but as time goes by you have to move around the entire company with a bit more freedom. I remember getting stuck in the late game numerous times when I was a kid. I especially remember getting the ability to stick to these yellow orbs. But then because I had taken so long to get that power, I had completely forgotten where the original yellow orbs I had seen were. I was obsessed thinking this was the only way forward. I don't even remember if that's actually the case or not. Compounding this factor is the map. It totally sucks, it's really unusable, and it just doesn't look good. I can't really tell what's going on with this one, and the controls are weird. It's awful. Personally though, I think Whiplash is still worth playing today. It has a lot of charm, but perhaps not in the way that something like Little Big Planet has charm. Think more Sam and Max, but instead of two insane characters, we have an insane mute and a cynical, fussy little rabbit. Ever since playing it again, I've been cutting up random Redmond quotes to set as different text tones for people or to send them on Facebook Messenger. If you think this game looks intriguing, I really recommend trying it out. It's not too expensive online and it's available on PS2 or original Xbox if you have either of those consoles. Let's just hope that someone can be convinced to remake this, or maybe Microsoft will finally add it to the Xbox One compatibility list. Probs not though. Am I right? Yeah, that's correct. What a weird way to have ended that script, Will. Oh, I'm just going to stick a Redmond quote in. That'll do it.
It's Willie Nelson. I can't believe it.
Thanks everyone for watching my video on Whiplash. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to go and check out the game if you like the look of it, and check out my other videos that I've done about games that I like, because why not, I guess. Huge shout out to Commander Ducky on YouTube. On his channel, he's got the entire soundtrack available for free download, and he's also got all of the Redmond quotes. So if you thought Redmond was funny and want to use his quotes and stuff, go ahead. It's all on his channel, and he's great for doing that. So yeah, go check him out. And yeah, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Drop a comment if there's a game you think I should cover. Yeah, thanks, I guess. Thank you. I'm just going to go now. I've made this awkward.